Hello and welcome to the Junior University Kickoff of 2020. This session will be speaking about higher education in Canada and give you an insight a little bit more about what it means to study in Canada, how the application process goes, and what tools you can use to help with your research. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I hope you enjoy the slides. So right now, this is showing you a map of Canada. If you don't know, Canada is the second largest country in the world, right after Russia, in terms of land mass. It has fewer people than the metropolitan area of Tokyo, believe it or not. 98% of the population lives within a 125-mile distance of the US and Canada border. And it is an excellent option for students who are looking to study in North America. Some of the reasons to study in Canada include the fact that it is home to world-class universities. It is affordable and most often less expensive than studying in the United States. There's a wealth of options and opportunities in Canada, and it's open to the world, meaning that their borders welcome all students of all nationalities. It offers experiential learning, support services, cultural diversity. The application process is relatively easy, and there are opportunities to stay in Canada after you graduate. Canadians supposedly have better lives, believe it or not. According to the OECD Index, Better Life Index, Canada ranks above average in housing, subjective well-being, personal security, health status, social connections, environmental quality, jobs and earnings, work-life balance, education and skills, civic engagement, income, and wealth. Believe it or not, Canada is the most educated country in the world. It's home, like I said, to world-class institutions. There are 97 public post-secondary institutions, and 3 of those universities are ranked in the top 50 around the world. A third of Canada's research is actually conducted at Canadian universities. They also place a very big emphasis on a global perspective. You can see that they continue to increase their international populations. In the year 2021, they project to have 450,000 international students. International student population, specifically for undergrad, is also quite outstanding. You can see in these universities, the percentage of international students is typically anywhere between 17 and 25%, which is quite phenomenal. In the United States, actually, any school that has over 12% international student population is considered to be quite diverse. So these numbers are very impressive. If that is an important factor for you in order to attend an institution that is diverse, you should definitely consider looking into some of these schools specifically. It's also, like I said, quite cost effective or affordable. It does give you a value for your money. You can see through this link located at the bottom on the slide is that a lot of the university fees are quite reasonable in comparison to that in North America and to its neighboring country, the United States. Yes, there is a difference between Canadian students versus non-Canadian students. You can see there's a jump. For example, McGill University, which costs anywhere between 2,500 Canadian dollars to 8,000 Canadian dollars for a Canadian citizen, and non-Canadians are about 17,000 Canadian dollars to 20,000 Canadian dollars. You can see this chart definitely includes some figures that could be helpful for you when deciding how important money is and the value of money is on your university education. The average international student fee is about $22,000 per year, and that's just for student fees and tuition. The cost of living is about $11,700 US dollars per year. rounding it out to be about 34,000 US dollars per year to study at university. When you compare that to studying in the United States, where universities are upwards of 60,000 US dollars per year, it's quite significant difference, and something that students and families are very cognizant about. For a great source of data and more information, check out univcan.ca for more information. There are scholarships available. There are typically merit awards, which are based off of students' academic performance and often offered at time of admission or acceptance. And then there's need-based awards, which vary by institution. Check out scholarshipscanada.com to learn a little bit more about Canadian scholarships. There's also the opportunity for co-op education, specifically at Waterloo. I'm not going to play this video here, but if co-op education is something that you and your student are interested in, it's essentially a year that's embedded in your in your university degree and curriculum to actually join the workforce. Instead of a 3-year degree, it might turn into a 4-year degree with 1 year, giving you the opportunity to have hands-on experience. At Waterloo specifically, which is right outside of Toronto, there are over 7,000 employers that are participating in this co-op program. It gives students the opportunity to earn money while they're studying. It gives them the opportunity to develop skills for their future, graduate with less debt, and possibly network for their future employment. Something that could be very beneficial for students that are interested in gaining that hands-on experience and joining the workforce immediately. Speaking of career opportunities, Canada is a country that is very welcoming to international students and encourages their students to take their education and put it to use. There are 90% of co-op graduates who receive a job offer within 1 month. As I mentioned, the co-op allows work for Canadian employers in any industry. So students who take advantage of co-op don't necessarily need to pursue a job related to their degree that they studied, but it is an opportunity to give them an opportunity to put what they've studied into practice. There's a rule that you must apply to the program. You have to apply to a co-op opportunity or a career opportunity, but it's not required to have a job offer at the time of application. So it could give you 3 years postgraduate work permit, which is really something that's super important when you've just finished your education in a foreign country and you're not necessarily ready to leave and return home. There are admission requirements, of course, when you're applying to Canada. A lot of it is based off of your academic performance. So when you're applying, you're typically applying with your transcript and your predicted grades. If you are not a full IB diploma candidate, it's likely that you will need external testing, such as SAT, ACT, and possibly English proficiency. Typically, letters of recommendations are not required, and supplementary information might be necessary depending on the university and the faculty that you're applying to, such as a personal profile, maybe a video interview. There could be a personal statement of experience, an essay, or a CV. University of British Columbia has an excellent website that goes into great detail on what they're looking for when they're completing your application. This personal profile video is embedded here in the presentation that I encourage you to look at. University of British Columbia, as I mentioned, has a great website that includes quite detailed information on how to apply to their university, and the link is listed below. Moving on to the next. They also have University of Toronto, Faculty of Engineering. They do require a short personal profile that I encourage everyone to take a look at this link to see what is needed, especially when you're applying to University of Toronto and their Faculty of Engineering. If you're applying to schools in Ontario, there is something called the OUAC application. If you're applying to multiple universities in Ontario, you can use the OUAC. It's basically one application for a variety of institutions. If you're applying to universities outside of Ontario, you must apply directly through the university website. Once you submit your application, you will then receive login details specific to each institution. Once you have those login details, you are required to upload supporting documents. Those can be uploaded by the student or sent by the counselor. And when I say supporting documents, I typically refer to the transcript and the predicted grades. As I mentioned previously, the application process is quite straightforward, very streamlined, and incredibly easy in comparison to other universities. It typically does not require the letter of recommendation or essay, so it's what we call a plug and chug type application, where students physically have to go in, plug their information, and continue through the entire application once it's submitted. This is what the OUAC application looks like. To give you an idea, there is a link located on the top of this page that can take you directly through the OUAC steps on how to complete it. A popular school that a lot of our students tend to apply to is called McGill University. Their application steps are quite similar, but it is required for you to go directly through their website. You submit their application, you fill it out and apply, and then you submit your documents. Typically, the timeline is for students to start and submit their applications anywhere between October and December. We encourage our students to submit usually around November once they're in the groove of their senior year, but applications do open in October for the following September. Deadlines do vary, so it's very important that you check with the university websites directly for specific dates. University of Toronto has an early recommended deadline in the first week of November. As I mentioned, we want our students to try and apply as early as possible and preferably before the December break. Offers are generally sent out between January and May. Typically, the sooner that you submit, the sooner you will receive an admission decision from the institutions. Decisions vary by institution. Sometimes you'll get an email, other times you have to log into the portal. Offers are typically based off of the IB predicted scores, and students must obtain a study permit in order to attend a university in Canada if they're an international student. So once you receive the offer and choose to attend that school, you will need to apply for a study permit. Now the question is, okay, well, how do I go about this college search, and how do I know if the college is the right fit for me? A few things that you want to take into consideration is, of course, size. I think that is something that's very important to students when they are evaluating what school might be the best fit for me. Schools in Canada can range anywhere from 1,000 students to 60,000 students. Also, cost could be something that you and your family are considering. Location. Sometimes students want to be in a metropolitan city or a small town. They may want to be somewhere that is very cold or has more of a Four Seasons type experience. The reputation and ranking might be incredibly important to the student. The strength of program could be important. Maybe you want to look into the campus atmosphere. And of course, you want to focus on research. or maybe a focus on teaching, depending on what major you're interested in applying to. The diversity of campus could be important as well. And these are all different things that you want to look into. It could be helpful if you create a Google Sheet that has different columns with multiple headings. It's a great way to keep track of schools that you're interested in. You can see, for example, one column would be the university, another could be the city and country that it's located in, the number of undergraduate students, percentage of international students, what their application requirements are, and how much it costs for their tuition. These are just examples of how you can organize a search process. There is something called the NSSE, or the National Survey of Student Engagement. It's a survey that collects data of hundreds of four-year colleges and universities, about four-year students and senior students participating in programs and activities. Basically, it estimates how undergraduates spend their time and what they gain from attending that specific college. They represent empirically confirmed good practices, and institutions like to use the data to identify aspects that they can improve. Take a look at McLean's for more information here. For example, here's one of the questions. How would you evaluate your entire educational experience at this institution? If you haven't heard of some of these institutions, such as Quest, or Tyndale, or Ambrose, or Trinity Western, or Queen's, take a look at some of these institutions because they have very high rankings in terms of an excellent experience. Also, Quest ranks the top when it comes to evaluating the entire educational experience. 78% of the students that took this survey said that they had an excellent experience. Again, take a look at the link below to give you more information and give you some data points on how this might be beneficial to you. I'm not going to play this video, but if you are unaware of what Quest University is, I highly recommend that you take a look into it. It is a small liberal arts and science college. It's incredibly student-centered with class sizes that are super small. It only offers one degree, however, which is an interdisciplinary Bachelor of Arts and Science degree. Again, take a look at the link to get more information. The college system in Canada is also a little bit different. So you have universities, which are typically larger institutions, and then you have community colleges, which are called colleges. They are colleges of applied art and technology. They tend to be more directly career-oriented. Businesses also work closely with these colleges to provide education that's practical and relevant. And there is university transfer programs, which allow students to complete 2 years at a college and then transfer to a university to complete the last 2 years of a degree. You might be thinking, okay, I'm actually really intrigued now, and I absolutely want to apply to Canada. What should I be doing? Definitely, as a student, make sure that you're focusing on doing well in your academic classes. As a junior, these years are incredibly important academically speaking, because oftentimes it's the last academic year that will be put on your transcript at point of application. Start researching universities and colleges that you may be interested in. If you are a partial IB diploma student, start thinking about if standardized testing is necessary. And you also want to be in touch with your counselor. There will be 2 meetings that are mandatory coming up soon in second semester. The counselor will meet with you, and then you'll have a junior interview with your parents, the student, and the counselor. Also, don't forget to have fun, right? I think obviously students who do well in high school are usually ones that are thriving and enjoying the experience. Here we've listed a bunch of useful websites. I think it's important that you check out some of these tools that can help you in your search process. My favorite one is the top one called educanada.ca. So please take a look into some of these links in order to learn a little bit more about universities in Canada. And thank you for joining me tonight. Again, my name is Miss Barry. I highly recommend that you use the counselors as a resource moving forward. Don't be afraid to start research on your own, and it's never really too early or too soon to start exploring. So even if you're not really sure where to start, just sit down one afternoon or one morning, one evening, and start looking around. Use some of the websites that we recommended and take a look. Is Canada a school or a destination that could be for me? Thank you again for joining me. I hope you found this information useful, and stay tuned for more events.